LucasXGamer and Wallace are former teammates and now solo pros, both very exciting with big moments in their career. And one more big moment right now. Hey, I'm Rich Slaton. This is Mega Draft BO5, Lucas versus Wallace. Let's go. All right, here we go. Game number 1. Lucas with the first pick, Queens on the board, Lightning and Rocket both as responses, NATO, Log, Key, and Lucas goes with NATO early on. You do see Miner as an option, so Lucas hedging against Wallace playing Miner. Lucas might also go that direction. Magic Archer, NATO would be a good combination for him. Wallace picking probably the other best spell on the board here with the Log, and then the Dart Goblin. Really, really nice. That's going to make things super annoying for Lucas. To have the Dart Goblin plus Log on Wallace's side, and no great way yet for Lucas to deal with that Dart Goblin. That could be a key factor as this one goes forward. Archer's major pick here for Lucas, plus of course the Monk. So Lucas will counter that Archer Queen if that's the direction Wallace goes. He probably won't, given what we're seeing from him so far. Archers, that's going to be hard for Wallace too, because look at the spells on the board. Not great spells for Archers, so maybe Wallace goes Snowball. Lightning's going to be a real problem here, and Wallace again just doubling down on the bait elements. That Log issue, so Snowball picked up by Lucas. That'll be good for him for dealing with those spears at least. Looking at other options here for Lucas, there's, let's see, we see Cannon, Tombstone, and the Barb Hut as buildings. So Lucas could take a big spell, although triple spell seems unlikely, and try to go either Ram Rider. I don't think that's the right call here, though. E-Dragon is an interesting pickup here from Wallace, plus the Lightning. So looking like he was going fast with it. He thought he might even go Minor Wall Breakers here, just given that he has so much synergy for it, and it's going to be hard to deal with another way, but instead Wallace with a total swerve with the E-Dragon plus Lightning. So basically picking cards paired with their best spell counters is Wallace. Lucas now showing maybe the possibility of a Royal Giant final pick. There's no great spell for piggies, and so Wallace picks up the pigs. And no good splash damage for Lucas. So it's going to be curious. Lucas doesn't have a win condition yet. And so a lot of this makes sense. The pigs, the Lightning, and E-Drag kind of outliers for Wallace's deck, but they are hard to counter on Lucas's side. And Lucas has to make a choice here. That Royal Giant's not a good pick here anymore, so Ram Rider it is, knowing he's not going to be up against a building. So interesting to note here that Wallace can knock back the Ram Rider with that Log and has some Lightning capabilities, but has no, and that's an easy exchange right there at the bridge between these two players, but no way to really contend with the Ram Rider. And here go the picks to the right-hand side. Snowball plus Magic Archer will mitigate a lot of the damage. Lots of interesting puzzles to figure out here. Monk goes for a high reflection. Magic Archer behind will chip away a little bit at that. And that's a nice NATO. Beautiful NATO, in fact. Gorgeous gameplay out of Lucas, who takes an early lead, gets the Dart Goblin off the board, gets the Mighty Miner off the board, puts a ton of damage on that tower. Great work there from Lucas. And this Ram Rider now going to do good double duty here. He should be able to get a nice connection, not a charged up one, but a touch. No, instead forces the Log out. And with a very low health E-Drag being the only real concern, Lucas now with a nice 4 elixir advantage might just eat the E-Drag. No, goes for the King Tower activation. So now just a 3 elixir advantage that he sacrifices 1 from. But still, King Tower activation, good lead overall, and that King Tower is going to help against those Royal Hogs. So very, very nice situation for Lucas here so far in the first 90 seconds. And again, it's the Magic Archer value, this time Lightning there and ready. Wallace switches lanes. Does he go with anything behind the Mighty Miner? His elixir just a little bit too low. And here we're back to the same problem. Does he do the same thing here again against the Ram Rider? And he doesn't. He has to give up a full-on connection. Not enough elixir to slow it down. So Valk plus Log end up stopping the bleeding, but the wound already way open on the left-hand side. Final minute, double elixir. and Lucas firmly in control and doesn't have to change up much. Snowball plus the Magic Archer going to do a lot here against these pigs. And he goes this time with a Snowball high. Nice lightning, but that's a big spend out of Wallace to get a decent but not devastating amount of damage. This is actually really nice for Wallace, though, that the E-Drag does not get reflected by the Monk. So about 440 difference between these two now. Is the log available for Wallace? Here it is, and that's a nice shutdown play. NATO does get some lineup, 2 shots from the Magic Archer. Dart Goblin picked up by the Archers on the other side. But NATO not in cycle. Magic Archer not in cycle. Does Wallace push on the right-hand lane now? Instead, he shows up into the left-hand lane. We might see a lane switch here to get in front of some pigs. Decides not to get in front. Pigs just go to the right-hand side. Gets in behind, trying to work on that giant skeleton. And Mighty Miner will do its job. And Reflection just within range, just being a real menace here for Wallace to deal with. Pigs down one more time. No Magic Archer available. Snowball plus King Tower doing a lot to mitigate that damage, though, and keeping the lead. And this exchange is staying pretty even in these last couple of minutes. Wallace now in a much better rhythm. That's a nice Mighty Miner. It's going to do just enough. That NATO, though, key NATO. Electro Dragon, a nice cycle there from Wallace. He will eat some damage, and that's a lot more than I thought was going to get down there. Pigs now to the right-hand side. Snowball should be available, and there you go. Snowball plus the giant skeleton plus King Tower. Just going to really keep that damage to a minimum. And now Ram Rider down. I don't know what Wallace has here. Log. Spears low. Magic Archer trying to get a nice lineup, and it will. Easy does it. GG. Well played. Game number 1 goes for Lucas, and it was all about those very, very easy Magic Archer connections and the absolute impossibility of Wallace to defend at all against the onslaught of the Ram Riders because there was no building, and really his cycle just made it kind of difficult. So here we go into game number 2. Wallace with the first pick now, as he is the loser of the previous game, and you'll see the overlay should update here in just one moment. I'm going to update that one more time to make sure it actually does go. And there we have it. Nice little updated overlay. And score is, of course, 1 in games for Lucas so far. And there, now finally all fixed. Wallace building towards a Royal Giant deck. Lucas going cycle. Cycle for Lucas. No log. Zap is going to be funky. Probably see Lucas go with arrows, although no great target for arrows. So maybe he goes Fireball, or maybe he goes Earthquake as well. So Lucas keeping it real tiny with that cycle. This will get interesting when he gets to that Mighty Miner 3-card cycle, able to get around to some 3 Elixir. If we get into triple Elixir, what Lucas will be able to do on the board will be absolutely crazy. The question is that just going to be fancy footwork, or will it actually be successful against whatever Wallace is cooking up? And Wallace takes the Fireball. Maybe kind of recognizing here that Lucas wants to keep the cycle quick. Very curious. Looking at win cons on the board, Lucas picks up the Tesla. That's probably the smart call for him here. Although probably didn't need to pick a building yet just because Wallace has already picked the Tombstone. So it's an interesting kind of back and forth whether you make that pick, and maybe just make that pick because you know it's the right pick and you want to kind of keep it in your head. You want to keep yourself all comfy. Lucas picking the pump, and normally I would have said beforehand pump is banned. I should have probably said that before we did this match, but I didn't. So there you go. There's a pump in here. Let's see how that one plays out. Wallace does have Fireball, though. So nice little Royal Hogs deck for Wallace. And no Fireball. No good big spell to deal with Royal Hogs on the other side. So that's actually a nice one. And a good opportunity to punish against pumps, too. No splash damage. And Wallace going with Prince here rather than Valk is interesting. Knowing he needs some splash damage against these piggies. And what's Lucas's last pick? Golem! I have a feeling Lucas is about to get absolutely shellacked here. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. But it feels like Lucas is in for a lot of trouble in this game. Although Lucas is calling fire and Wallace is doing the oh no. So maybe I'm totally off base. Pump with the super cycle. There you go. And again, I probably should have banned Pump, but you know, you live and you learn. And the quick cycle of Lucas already evident. Six-man does counter the Mighty Miner fairly nicely, but the Mighty Miner would have been nice for Wallace against this inevitable Golem play. But then the question is, how does Lucas stop Royal Hogs? And the answer is, I really don't know. Royal Hogs being tanked for by a recruit on the left-hand side, lots of damage on the left, tons of damage on the left. And now Tombstone for all this single target damage. I think Lucas got caught in some no man's land here. Tried to go early pump. Early pump didn't do much. And now he pumps again. Fireball's back in cycle. Earthquake not there. But Wallace going to go ahead and just go at the bridge instead. And does he Earthquake the pump? Yes, he does. And now no Tesla in cycle, no problem. Look at all the skeletons on the right-hand side. The Ice Spirit to slow it down, but Wallace just, again, the decision to go with no splash damage. Certainly a funky one. And there goes the Monk, and that knockback really nice for the Monk against the Mighty Miner. Really does a good job of countering both the Mighty Miner and the Archer Queen. Wallace going to go ahead and probably use the ability here. No, decides to punch the Golem instead. Maybe also save that. And you have the DPS now of the bird on the board here against this Golem. And now Wallace going to try to secure the win on the right-hand side. And that will get the tower down. Golem won't do much. And Lucas with one of the stranger Mega Drafts. Such a good Clash Royale mind. And I'm wondering, I bet I should have had these guys in chat talking out their picks. Very curious about Lucas's choices on this one. Just kind of funky. Just a little bit funky. Maybe taking a bite of his sushi. And got distracted there by that one. But either way, that's going to be us all tied up after 2 games, going into a game 3 between these friends with even Stevens and a chance to take the lead on the line in our 3rd game. So here we go. Game number 3. Mighty Miner, Golden Knight, Monk, the champions. No log. Only one small spell here in the Snowball. Both delivery and arrows. And not a lot of cycle cards here, so Luke is going to have to go heavier. Does Wallace secure spells here early? And he does. Delivery will be really nice if Lucas gets pigs, or if Wallace gets pigs, now delivery out of Lucas's hand. So does Wallace go pigs early here? It would be a really early pick. And no, he goes monk. He gets the best, probably the best on the board. And Lucas goes mighty miner, and I think that advantage goes to Wallace here. Snowball for Lucas, maybe anticipating the piggies. Wallace has been picking spells, really been picking spells paired with his win conditions. So this feels to me like a really good opportunity. And yeah, now the bomb tower. So Wallace is straight up picking for Royal Hogs. Lucas could just pick Royal Hogs to spite him right now. Or he could start picking anti-Royal Hogs. Bowler would be a weird but true anti-Royal Hogs pick. And Wallace there looking like he's hedging primarily against the Skarmy as a potential Royal Hogs counter. Lucas could pick Mega Knight. So he goes with the Goblin Barrel and picks the arrows. And so now Wallace is going to have to really be on the timing for that Royal Delivery. Of course, Mother Witch will help as well. But Wallace is going to probably eat a couple of shots here and there. Again, if you've heard me talk about this before, you don't have to hover Royal Delivery to counter goblins. Goblin barrels, you just have to be ready, like planning and reactive. You can play a reactive, you have to be, you can't like notice it and then go, oh, I should play it. You have to be anticipating it's going to come and be ready to play it. Ice Golem in there, which my favorite card, excited to see the little snow guy up in the building. Double bait for Lucas now. And now those wall breakers are going to make things a bit more annoying. This deck gets around pretty quickly, considering how few cycle cards there actually are on the board. But what does Lucas do against the most likely Royal Hogs pick? I might have gone Cage with no EQ. He goes Inferno Tower just because it could be RG instead. But it is pigs. Wallace loves his piggies. Picked the two strongest counters on the board and then hedged with the Mother Witch. So look at your boy Rich Slaton learning a little bit about Mega Draft, huh? And Wallace might pick Mega Knight here just to protect. No, he goes Lightning. Lightning against the Inferno Tower, sure. I might have gone something a little bit lighter, and Barbs there for the pigs. Interesting. So that's an interesting counter. Also works against the Mighty Miner. And not susceptible to the Mother Witch. Full send to start. And Wallace has to spend a lot to defend. So that's a win for Lucas there, despite getting no damage out of it. Now he can... I guess he's going to sacrifice the elixir advantage. I thought he might troop up there instead. But again, not a lot of troops to contend with. And again, love seeing the snowman up in here. If only because we don't see him very often. Again, one of the great things about Mega Draft. There's some nice chip for Lucas. And rather than play against the Monk, he goes the opposite direction with the Mighty Miner for a little bit of damage. The Barbs brilliantly played by Lucas, though. Look at the journey that those Barbs are going on. And that was really, really nicely done. And just barely doesn't get the connection on the left-hand side. Those Barbs really did a great job of not just defending against the Royal Hogs, but coming across the board and taking care of the Mighty Miner and Hunter. And that was just, no overspend from Lucas, just done perfectly. And you can see the results of that so far. Slight lead here for the 3-time world finalists in Lucas against the 2-time world finalists in Wallace. Of course, what's the difference? Well, 2022. But that first World Finals, of course, on the same team. Both made World Finals in 2021. Wallace barely missing in 22. Expect to see him back there in 23. And snowball arrows on the Mother Witch to try to get the connection. Doesn't get it. forces the bomb tower out, but now big barbs on the board here. Wallace should be fine, though. Bomb tower will spy and shoot. The Hunter, maybe a little extra. Just trying to make sure there was no damage there. And not sure I agree with the juke play by Wallace, or by Lucas, because Wallace was stretched a little thin to get that delivery out quickly. I would just, if I'm Lucas, I'm just going on tower, right on tower every time. And a great Goblin snowball. Wallbreaker is really more for pressure and forcing out responses. Inferno Tower high easily takes care of the Monk, who maybe Wallace forgot doesn't reflect. Maybe I don't know if Wallace plays a lot of Monk. Either way, that Monk went into, I think that Monk went into reflection and then died anyway. What a nice Inferno Tower up high to both distract the top bomb tower and get it off the board. Mighty Miner plus barbs to the right-hand side. Mother Witch stays on, though. And now here goes Wallace, finally with some momentum. And the Monk getting good reflection on the right-hand side. And now Wallace almost takes the lead, but does defend the Goblin Barrel with good timing on that Royal Delivery. 1:15 left, almost a triple elixir here. And while it's been mostly the Lucas story in this game number 3, Wallace is acquitting himself very well and has kept it competitive. Snowball maybe trying to predict a true play rather than delivery play, but Wallace was back to it. Here we are, triple elixir, and look at how fast these Goblin Barrels are coming now. 1674. Lightning gets onto the Inferno Tower. And now maybe Pigs to the right-hand side behind this Hunter. Arrows, Snowball putting pressure. Decides to go Pigs into the weak lane instead. Full send, right-hand side. Delivery does stop the Goblin Barrel. Spell cycle from Lucas. Fire Spirit does jump back to another Goblin Barrel again. This board is absolutely crazy. 1271 to 1350. Pigs in. 15 seconds left. Lucas calling good game as the Lightning connects. GG. Well played. Triple elixir. Wallace gets it done. And we will have the first repeat picker as Lucas now, after going up 1, going to lose 2 in a row here and put himself in a back against the wall game number 4. It was all about the great defense of Lucas early on, or of Lucas early on in this one. Brilliant defense early on, but in the end, it was the patience of Wallace, staying in it, not trying to overcommit early, knowing that in triple elixir, he was going to have a lot. A lot. So here we go. Let's jump into game number 4. Wallace up 1 with match point. No Monk and no Archer Queen. No log. Sorry, there was a log. It's weird that the spells always don't line up easily. Let's see if Wallace secures spells early here. Goes Fireball. And Golden Knight. No NATO, no Magic Archer. Early pick of the Golden Knight for Wallace. Wallace, do we see him go Pigs again? He's been so successful, and he picked Fireball. Lucas this time with the log and some splash damage, so a really different equation. But the buildings, the question now is, does he pick Bomb Tower as pick number 3 to prevent the Pigs play? No, he goes Mother Witch instead. Mother Witch into a Fireball. Maybe just trying to prevent Wallace from getting his hands on it. The Valk for Wallace. And then the Flying Machine. That's an absolute menace. How will Lucas contend with the flying machine? So far, there's lots of single-target troops, so he could go lightning and try to get lightning value on flying machine plus. But if he does end up and decides to go, I think the minions and Inferno Dragon should be his answer enough. And Wallace wanting some cycle and wanting some reset against the Inferno Dragon makes a really great pick with the Electro Spirit. Skeletons would have been a tough call against that Mother Witch, and that reset's certainly nice. Inferno Tower, so Infernos on both sides. And it is Lucas taking the Lightning to counter now both the Inferno Tower and that flying machine. And Lucas going Golem. Fascinating. Lucas loving Golem these days, it seems. Golem into the Inferno Tower. And Wallace, I was about to say Mini P.E.K.K.A. is right there. Wallace does go Mini P.E.K.K.A. Now, does he pick Pigs as his win condition once again? Only one Splash Troop and Lightning. Now, but Bomb Tower's still on the board here. Does he switch it up? And he goes for the Battle Ram. So an interesting bridge spam variant, and I guess the Mini P.E.K.K.A. supports that a little bit. 3 mini tanks on the board with Mini P.E.K.K.A., Golden Knight, and Valkyrie. And that does free up what's actually a better pick for Lucas in that Goblin Cage, as that Goblin Brawler can support some of those big Golem pushes. So here we go. Game number 4, match point for Wallace. And Lucas playing a really interesting Golem deck. And Wallace deciding to just go for it. And maybe nothing great in hand for Lucas as he plays Inferno Dragon Minions Log to counter that initial push. And a nice little Valk Kite gets the Inferno Dragon off the board. And champion for champion battle here. Lucas is not going to pop this ability. It'd be a waste. Doesn't take advantage of the bit of elixir that he had available there. Both guys playing very, very conservative here, and you understand why. Especially from the side of Wallace. Nice King Tower activation there from Lucas. Especially from the side of Wallace, who knows that if he tries to double down, he's going to run into a Golem problem. He is also, though, forcing Lucas to play and not sit back and play a Golem when he wants. But really, it seems like the onus is on Wallace to get damage early. And content to just play these mini tanks, cycle. Lucas maybe a bit extra with the ability there. And Brawler will run away from that Valk, so Lucas is forced to respond. Wallace is going to kite that Brawler. Nice kite here. You don't see a lot of Battle Ram play. Bridge spam, not really in the meta. Hasn't been for a few years. And now Lucas gets the first pile of rocks on the board. 23 seconds was the mark, I believe, now down to the final 17 of regulation. And is there a Lightning here for Lucas? No, there's an Inferno Tower, Inferno Dragon plus Goblin Cage, but the Battle Ram will escape. Minions just try to reduce the damage, and Lucas does not have a Lightning for this Inferno Tower. Does he play? I don't think he plays it late. No, he just gets the DPS on. And then going to get some nice tankage. Valk plus ability does some, but not a ton of damage on that left-hand side. Still pretty even, minute 40 left, and Lucas goes bottom corner into his weak side and Wallace's weak side. Golden Knight connection, totally fine with that as Lucas, and this is nice. This is really nice for Lucas. He has enough for lightning here, has the minions plus the Skeleton King behind the Golem. Inferno Tower's all distracted. Golem's gonna explode just a touch away. Didn't get the death damage onto the Princess Tower. And the lead now, for the moment, going towards Lucas. Big counter push, though, coming for Wallace. Here we are, triple elixir. Does he get enough for the cage to stop? And he does. Cage down. Mini-tech. 3 mini-tanks all over that Golem and 2 flying machines in the air. Lightning needs to do some clear work, and it will. Lucas ahead by about 804 HP. Maybe precisely 804 HP. Doing math on the fly, not my strong suit. And good lightning, but opposite lane pressure here from Wallace. Lucas all over this, though. And there's no spell cycle here, right? No small spell to support it, so Wallace can't try to go with a bunch of fireballs, and there you go. Minions connect. Easy log choice from Lucas. Lightning to clear. GG, well played. We are going to a full BO5, folks. This is what you want when you book a match like this. You want 2 great players, great friends, taking it all the way to the edge, and that's what we're going to have today. What a joy of a match this has been, and I cannot wait to see the resolution here between these 2 really fun, exciting players. Here we go, game number 5. All the marbles. Archer Queen is available. Lightning and Rocket as counters. No Monk. Log the first pick here for Wallace. Lucas has been picking Log a lot, and Wallace has been picking Fireball. Let's see if it goes the opposite direction this time. No NATO. Miner is stronger then. No arrows, and you see Lucas going with the archers, seeing the arrows off the board. No zap, no snowball. So Wallace gonna have to overspend on archers. Does Wallace go with a big spell here? Poison or Fireball. Golden Knight, and that will help with the archers. No NATO, so Electro Giant seems unlikely on either side, although Wallace could go that direction. And Spear is a great choice, given the lack of a small spell for Lucas to pick. Very smart stuff from Wallace. No Royal Giant played today, and no Royal Giant on the board, so a rare BO5 in Mega Draft. Even in a BO3, it's rare to see no RG, and we're not going to see it today. Lucas kind of forcing Wallace to pick either Poison or Fireball here. Skarmy, another. These picks for Wallace are really nasty with no small spells for Lucas. You understand why he picked Fire Spirit for the cycle, yes, but to almost double as a small spell here. And Lucas going Poison. Does Lucas go Miner? I could see him doing it. I certainly could see him doing that. No NATO, and there we go. Boom. Great pick for Lucas. So let's see how he defends in single, and then if the Miner Poison can get going in double, and then later in triple. And Rocket is not the pick I expected from Wallace. Really not the pick I expected. I wonder what he thinks Lucas is going to go for here, that he picks Rocket and not Fireball. What a fascinating choice. Stab Gobs. And that bomb tower is great for Wallace. He doesn't have a lot of ways to deal with those small swarmy troops. Instead, he takes the bomb tower. So now he has some more splash with the Skeleton King. He has the bomb tower as those swarmy troops come across the board. And then he's going to play a lot of defense and then try to minor poison. And Wallace, with such a strange deck pick, he's going to try to play Rocket Cycle. As Wallace is going to play defense and go for Rocket Cycle. It certainly feels like it. Very, very interesting. And a little mind games there. Both players knowing no NATO, so Lucas going, hey, you think I'm going to vary up my opening position knowing no NATO? No, I'll go to the number 1 spot. Wallace tries to predict the smarter play, and Lucas makes the dumber play, which is the smarter play. You know what I mean? If you know that I know that you know that I know, that sort of thing. And there you go. Wallace's game plan. Cycle a lot of rockets. What a strange, strange deck out of Wallace. Did the bomb tower poison to shut down his line of thinking? And then he made an adjustment. Was this the idea the entire time? Will it work? Only time will tell. The interesting thing here about this whole situation is that this deck for Wallace would rely on shutdown defense and then spell cycle. And while he can, as you see right there, catch some minors, you're really banking on catching a lot of minors and then not getting beaten by minor poisons in triple, which seems like a lot to ask of yourself. To be fair, the 250-point lead right now-ish going for Wallace. .45 left in regulation, and this best of 5 has lived up to the hype, and now it's living up to the curiosity. And the other great part of that Skeleton King is what it does against that Skarmy, against all these swarm troops. That's a good cage, a little offset cage there, trying to link all these things together. And here comes the minor poisons, and I just don't know how Wallace deals with that in the long run. And you can see just like that, Lucas taking a fairly important lead. And Wallace doesn't have the overwhelm in the opposite direction, because that poison's going to undercut that over and over again. Does the Golden Knight get to the archers? Yes, it does. That was huge. And the Valk, and that's a very nice Valk. Still going to give up damage here, but a nice Valk out of Wallace. I just don't know his path to victory here. 90 seconds left. The rocket cycle begins in more earnest. Can he defend enough to rocket cycle his way to victory against minor poison? And nice high bomb tower. The high building play from Lucas has been really devastating throughout this competition. Really wonderful high bomb tower out of Lucas, and just opens up the lead to that might be an insurmountable margin. That might be too hard for Wallace to recover from. The rocket's going to get things closer, but you're still, with the rocket, you're down by a lot, and the minor, and that Valk catch is huge. Valk catch is massive, but another minor in, because look at how fast this cycle comes late. Now the minor, no shots, Goblins high, 1282, and that lead just back to right where it was. Right back where it was. And Wallace just can't, Wallace physically can't catch miners because of that poison and what that does in triple. And every time that Wallace logs, the cage catch, it does help. Miner gets a little bit more. Any way for Wallace to, and no, look at how fast that miner's on the board. Wallace knows it. We all know it. GG, well played. Wallace put himself in such a weird match there at the end, and Lucas was just like, yo, you're not getting out of this one. Just enough of a lead. Every time that Wallace rocketed, Lucas was able to just go, okay, here, minor poison. Your rocket's not going to beat my minor poisons, especially when you can't catch miners very much. Man, that's very curious about how that draft went overall for Wallace. Either way, it was a great best of 5, a full-on BO5, no bonus matches needed. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and of course, if you did enjoy it, go ahead, like this video, subscribe to the channel. There's more great Mega Draft stuff coming back here, or Draft Pick, whatever you want to call it. More fun stuff in this game mode coming very soon to this channel. Of course, some featured matches and some more brackets. And all you find that is by subscribing here. Turn on notifications, too. Make sure you catch every single thing. And, of course, as always, be excellent to each other.